John Velt. I just have a few things I want to say. This is on your dash plaque. John Velt's 1967 Camaro. And this year we recognize John, we recognize the Velt family as a part of Waterloo. And I told John when we first mentioned that we were going to put his car on the dash plaque that this wasn't going to be about Maple Grove. But you can't tell the story of John Velt without saying Maple Grove. And John Velt's made it his passion and his hobby to keep the history of Maple Grove alive in Waterloo, and all that he can do to try to find anything, any artifact he can turn up, he's always digging. And for that alone, John should be recognized. But you can't tell the story about Maple Grove without bringing up another Velt. And John, your father won like 80 races, 90 races? Quite a few. I think it's like, can we just keep adding to make it more? You know,
it'd take a couple hundred, I guess. Yeah.
But so John's father, Raleigh, though, one thing that where they both have something in common is a couple years back, if you were here, you might recall we had some stock cars where John brought Maple Grove to our show, and John was a volunteer for Celebrate Commemorate. And at our very first Celebrate Commemorate in 2000, John's father, Raleigh, was running the duck races. And he was the guy in the boat dumping the 5-gallon buckets of ducks into the water. So 2 generations of Velts. We didn't have the Nugent hardware truck here, but there's a Nugent hardware truck out there in the Velt family.
We're going to talk about that, too. I want to bring that here soon.
We'd love to see that here.
Yes.
We'll keep that in Waterloo.
Yes.
But I don't mean to make this about anything personal, but I grew up about 2 miles east of here in Seneca Falls on Fall Street. And I was a kid, and this must have been, I don't know, how long have you had your car?
73.
73, so this is probably 45 years ago. And I lived on Fall Street, and a bunch of the, I would say older guys, because they had their driver's licenses, they would meet up at the Red Barn. And when they met up at the Red Barn, they all brought these really cool cars into town. And there was this kid from Waterloo, and he had this car, and I fell in love with the great American Chevrolet Camaro. But I didn't just fall in love with any Chevrolet Camaro. I fell in love with that one right there.
I know.
That is a cool car. And that is still a cool car 45 years or more later.
Thanks, Mike.
So,
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I do.
Our 2025 dash plaque, John Velt. Oh, and Peggy Eno. Peggy Eno, man. That is a cool Camaro right there next to it. Thank you for bringing your cars.
I just want to say that I'm sorry my dad's not here because he really would have appreciated this. And he did like this event a lot. I wish he was here.
Yeah.
Thanks.
He'd be proud
Thanks
of you.
for-
You're a good man, John. He'd be proud of you.
Thanks, Mike. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Our 2025 dash plaque, John Velt, 1967 All-American Chevrolet Camaro.
This is a replica of a 1926 75. It was Aaron Sparks' Rolls Royce of fire trucks in the 1920s. And I built it for the Cub Cadet.
but to be quite honest, I wouldn't turn any of them away.
Oh, no. Listen, if anybody were to tell me here's the keys to just about any of these cars, I'd take it.
Yeah.